And then the third one is this: do I have peace? Do I have peace? Does it align with the Bible? Does godly counsel agree? And do I have peace? Paul said these words in Colossians 3, verse 15. He said, let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. Everyone say rule. All right. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. The word rule here is the word umpire. It's the same word in our language that we have for umpire. What does an umpire do? He calls balls and strikes. He says you're out, you're safe. Basically, the umpire comes in and he makes the call. Here's what Paul's saying. Peace should be the deciding factor in making the call on validating God's voice. Do I have peace? Do I have peace? What is God's voice saying in relationship to peace? Because here's what I know. I've dealt with this in my own life. You can have a great plan, but have no peace. In the fall of 2007, I was given an opportunity along with another guy to move to the city of San Diego, California. A couple churches got together and they were going to fund us $2 million to go to the city of San Diego and start a church. And man, I just knew it was God's will. I'm like, God, you are in San Diego, right? And so I get off the plane. Tracy and I go out there to pray about the opportunity. We get off the plane. Listen, it is 68 degrees, 360 days of the year in San Diego. It must be God. So we get off, we start driving around. I'm passing by the Chargers Stadium. I'm like, yes, Lord, this is a pro team here, all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, God, this must be you. We drive into these neighborhoods. We're looking at houses. And all of this time, I am creating a plan of how God is going to make this work. The only problem is we didn't have a peace. And I continued to follow the plan. I was like, God, we're going to work this plan. I'm going to show you my yeses on the table, God. That was in September of 2007. In January of 2008, in fact, be specific, January 27th, 2008, it was my birthday. I was at a retreat with a couple hundred teenagers in a frozen part of Oklahoma. And about 4 a.m. that morning, I felt like God just woke me up. I knew it had to be God because back then I wasn't a morning person. And at 4 a.m., I felt like the Lord just impressed upon me and said, Shawn, you got a wonderful plan, but I haven't given you my peace. You're not going. My house was on the market. My yes was on the table. We were shopping for things at IKEA saying we're going to go from 2,000 square feet to 300 square feet. It was all out there. But God hadn't given us a peace. Here's what I learned in that moment. You can have the greatest plan and believe that God's speaking to you, but if God speaks to you, he's going to give you his peace. Here's how I know that. God never leads through fear, he leads through faith. God never leads through fear. If you're weighing a major decision in your life and you're so fearful about it that you can't get God's peace, you need to stop. You need to wait. It's amazing the things that we run away from in our life and the things that we avoid in our life. And we just say, well, I just got this fear about it. It's like, well, then you don't have peace about it. Philippians 4:6-7 says we should pray about everything. And then he says this in verse 7. He says, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. I love this verse because we know what the peace part is, but here's what he says. God's peace can transcend all your understanding. What does that mean? That word understanding means reason or logic. There have been times in my life I prayed for something and said, God, I need you to validate your voice. And God gave me a peace past reason and even past logic. The plan wasn't even that great, but God's peace was greater. He says it will guard your hearts. What does that word guard mean? It means like a group of soldiers that surround you. So here's why I love this verse. The peace of God transcends all reason or logic and will surround you and protect you in your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. That's what I love about validating God's voice. When God speaks, He speaks through faith, not through fear, and he gives us his peace.